Adam Taylor, we last spoke when you were outside the New Ground Cafe in Newhall. So now you're from outside, we've gone inside, and you tell us exactly where you are and why you moved here.
Yeah, of course I can. So we're in the Arise Innovation Building down in the Science Park, which is, I guess, part of Newhall still technically. And we've been in here since the 1st of May was we moved in. And really, to be fair, when we last talked, we were talking about sort of the business and growing the business and such like and the opportunities. And we've had quite a good year with winning some quite exciting projects. So I thought it was time to find a bit of an office, a bit larger than bit larger than the bedroom I was operating out of. And actually, we've recruited as well since we last talked as well. So that's been quite exciting.
And how do you like being here?
I think it's great actually. It's a really nice building. It's really local. You know, you could walk. I normally drive, but you could walk if you wanted to. Actually, I did start walking, and then it started raining. But yeah, so it's really nice. It's really nicely located. The facilities are actually quite good. You know, the rents are pretty reasonable, and the engagement with the university actually was one of the main things that really appealed to me about the Arise building actually.
In what way?
So in that way, because it enabled me to, I initially wanted to take on an intern to see how it went, and working with ARU, I was able to take on an intern that then turned into a graduate employee at the end of it. But also because I do a lot of as well as doing engineering, obviously I have a passion for talking to students and passing on my knowledge about engineering. So it's been really good to actually engage with Anglia-Ruskin University and talk to their students about careers in electronics and careers in space and such like.
And you're very much a sort of local but global type of guy, aren't you? Because you might be sitting here in Newhall, in here we are, but a lot of your work is done in seminars all over the world. Is that right?
It is, yeah. So we have most of our clients are based outside the UK. So we have a lot of clients in the United States, in the Valley, Silicon Valley. In fact, about 2 weeks ago, one of them flew here to see me because I couldn't at the time. We couldn't still get in to see them. That literally just changed around the time that they came across. But yes, we have a lot of clients in the US where we do a lot of I guess educational and content creation for them around sort of engineering. And we have a lot of clients in Europe. So we do a lot of work for the European Space Agency. We're doing some work with the Australian Department of Defence and on some space projects. So it's quite bizarre that most of our clients are sort of international and global.
And this is an enterprise zone. And so what are the enterprising projects you're involved in at the moment?
So we have a couple of projects ongoing at the moment. One of the most interesting ones is we've recently won a project to help develop some electronics and some software that will be going on a project called Gateway, which is a space station that will orbit the moon as part of the sort of the manned return to the moon in the mid 2020s. I would say 2025 was the date, but I think like most of these projects, it's likely to move out a little bit. So we've got that. We've done some interesting. We've just developed a product as well. Actually, I don't think we talked about that last time we met, but we've just developed. I didn't mention it when we were preparing for this neither, but we're just thinking about it. We have just developed a product which is I'll send you some photos of it, but it's very much in line with the fourth industrial revolution and the industrial Internet of Things and machine learning. So it's really designed for sort of, I guess, it can be used for sort of manufacturing and prognostics management, and so it can sense things like, it's very environment aware, so it can sense things like vibration, shock, acceleration, relative humidity. It can actually take thermal image pictures as well, so you can take an image of, say, a motor and see whether it's getting too hot or too warm or something like that. And coupled with machine learning, you can use that to sort of predict whether your machinery is about to fail or not.
When you forgive my ignorance, but when you say we're developing, where does that actually go on?
So a lot of it actually goes on in this office here. It's not, engineering's perhaps not the best known in the UK. If you say engineering in the UK, everybody thinks like greasy, oily rag or sort of. But actually, most engineering is actually done with laptops and PCs and such like. where we design the schematic. If we're doing electronic design, we design the schematics, we lay out the schematics, we write the software, and then we send it external to a specialist manufacturing and assembly house that will manufacture and assemble. And I can show you one of the ones that we've designed if you want. If you've got a second.
Yeah.
So these are. Sorry, you'll have to do some editing, won't you?
That's right.
But these little boards are going to be a part of a project we've been working on for a US client over the last year, and they're going to be part of a laser communications link between two satellites. So it essentially comes out as a little board that we designed. So you get the front side and then the back side. And on the back side, you can see the design mistake we made with the little wires added onto it. But yeah, so these little boards are quite. They'll be used in a satellite as part of a laser communications to communicate between satellites, which is increasingly popular.
You said you recently took on an intern. What level do interns come in at?
So it was an interesting one. So we took on the intern. He came in. He just finished his Bachelor of Engineering degree at ARU. That's how we found him. One of the benefits of being here, actually. So we took him on as an intern across the summer, and then actually, I would have taken on anyone at any level as they would. So whether they were like a second year or a third year. As it turns out, the intern we took on had actually finished his degree. So at the end of his internship, we actually offered him a job. So he's been working with us now as a graduate engineer since mid-September.
So where do you see going from here? How does 2022 look to you?
2022 looks quite good actually. At the moment, we've got some projects that run through into 2022, and we've got quite a good forward workload. We have some interesting discussions going off as well with some people. My next plan actually is to do some more recruiting, and actually, so as I can stop working sort of 80-hour weeks. My next plan is to actually recruit somebody that's sort of mid-career, if you know what I mean, sort of 5 or 10 years experience in sort of electronic and FPGA design.
And so, I think as I said, you work from home, and now you've got this office. Most people this whole year is almost people are
doing
reverse.
the opposite. Yeah.
Do you enjoy having an office?
I do actually. Yeah, I think it's quite good. I think we were definitely growing out of the space that we had in the bedroom, which I was using as my office. So it gives more space, and it gives more separation as well between home and work life, shall we say. And I think it's an interesting point for an established business that's kind of had premises before, shall we say, and then that sort of throughout the pandemics had to move people to working from home. It's slightly different to a sort of a startup, which is, I think you need some sort of premises at some point in time to be more of a real business, shall we say. Mm.
So we've just talked locally again, but I want to go back up to space for a second. It's coming, from the space race, mm-hmm. from Kennedy through to 69, and then it faded away, didn't it? The exploration, the race, and now with Elon Musk and Richard Branson, why has the things got interesting again?
I think it was an interesting thing, we went to the moon, like you say, in the space race, but that was very much a political thing, really, between two competing superpowers at the time. Which one's going to win, the communist or the free society in America. And after that, it moved into the space shuttle, which was much more, and then the International Space Station, but that was much more sort of low Earth orbit experiments, maintaining satellites, repairing satellites, and deploying things. I think recently it's got a lot more exciting, but it's expensive. Space is expensive. The space shuttle was meant to be cheap, and although it was a wonderful piece of engineering, it never turned out to be as cheap as it could. Whereas sort of the approach taken by some of the newer space companies, such as SpaceX, Rocket Labs, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson to some extent although Richard Branson's just sort of playing a little bit at it, really. It's really revolutionised, particularly SpaceX and their approach to doing things with their, for instance, if you must have seen the Starship. tests, which look like a huge, looks like a 1950s
Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon type thing, and they've been flying those and testing. They've been flying those and testing those because they wanted to fly to be able to take off, do this maneuver in the orbit, and then come back down and land vertically. And they've been testing that to achieve that. And they've lost a few along the way. They've learnt a lot in doing it, and they've succeeded in doing it. But that sort of mentality is very different. You know, the we'll try it, we'll see, we'll learn is very different to sort of the legacy space agency type approach, where it has to be that perfect straight on, so it takes a lot longer and costs a lot more money. But it's really exciting, to be fair, because space has a big impact on your lives, and most people never actually realize it.